My name is David Kelly. I am from Kenexa, an IBM company. I'm still getting used to saying that. But we are very, very excited about everything that Kenexa and IBM will jointly do around smarter workforce. Delighted that everyone can attend today. I presume that if you are here today that you guys didn't go to Orlando. Did anybody go? A couple of people went. You guys must love social business. For those of you that didn't go, this is a much more comfortable and intimate environment than the one that was offered at Disneyland. It's a much easier to find location. It's not quite as warm, but it's easier to get here from London. The only thing that you guys missed that was available in Orlando, or that did happen, was the band that played at the start. A band called They Might Be Giants opened. I don't know whether you guys know them at all. They sang that song, Make a Little Birdhouse in Your Soul. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. And the lead guitarist, who looks as though he's probably in his 50s now, he was wearing a cardigan, and he said, I'd like to congratulate IBM. There's about 5,000 IBMers in the room. He said, I'd like to congratulate IBM because in 25 years of touring, this is the earliest ever gig we've done. It was 5 to 8 in the morning. So, so IBM's good at lots of things, but I think rock and roll is perhaps not one of them. Okay? So thank you again for the invite to be here. I want to talk a little bit about smarter workforce, what Kenexa does today, and what IBM and Kenexa are going to jointly do for the future. Please do ask me any questions as we go along. I'd much rather that this was a chat than a formal presentation. If you have a hard question to ask, please email it to me in advance. And all of the usual things apply here about these are plans for the future. Okay, so IBM reserves the right to make amendments and keep control of its own roadmap. But as far as we know, these are the plans. So can I just do a quick poll of the audience first of all? So who manages people either by projects or by actual downline? Okay, cool. And do you have so the typical disbursement curve of performance of people would say that you might have a small group of high performers, and you get a lot of productivity out of those people, and then you have a group of, say, other that are in the range who are improving all the time. Okay, and then you might have some that are perhaps not ideally aligned to the business objectives. That would be a typical disbursement curve of performance. So does that resonate with anyone without going into your specifics, teams and downlines? Because here's the thing that we want to think about. If you could find and have more people that were exactly like your top performers, what would that do to the productivity of your unit? And that's what the concept is of smarter workforce. We are extremely philosophically aligned with everything eOffice does. We passionately believe in the transformational power of people. If you get the right skills in the right place at the right time, if people are empowered and they know and understand what it is that they're supposed to do, and if the mission of the business really motivates them, if the leadership communicates well, that is a transformational proposition for the unit, for the company, and for the individual. And that's the concept of smarter workforce. So I'm going to talk about why it's important, the background, the strategic issue. I'm sure a lot of you guys are having chats with leadership around what it is that we can do to build a more productive workforce. I'm going to talk about what Kenexa does today, and importantly, how this dovetails with the social business toolkit of IBM. So, as I say, I'm interested to see if this resonates with the people that are managing people. These are the kind of macro issues affecting senior HR and leaders within businesses that compete for talent. There is a shortage of these people. There was a recent study that listed, I think it was 43% of companies over the last 2 years have not been able to execute on a project where they saw a business opportunity because they didn't have the skilled staff in the right place at the right time. There is a new generation entering the workforce, and there's an expectation that comes with that. So everybody's growing up now with YouTube and social media and Facebook and instant access to information and mobile as a key, probably prevalent communication device. So that's the expectation now in terms of how they engage with you as an employer and how they further their career within the business. There's a merging of science and technology. So this is really a big data play for IBM. So we have the capability now to understand where our external talent pool is, how you might engage them. We have the enterprise content management systems to start that dialogue. We can track all of the activity. We can digitally onboard people. We can manage performance, and all of this data is tracked. So you can see what your high performers are doing and where they come from and what motivates them. And you can see the business impact through your customer experience. You mesh those two together, you're going to have some interesting correlates around what it is that leads to high performance for a business. So this is the easier way of saying that. Human capital is the last real bastion of sustained competitive advantage. Because anything that can be done today can be patented and copied, essentially. There are lots of examples of that within the market. But if you do hire better people than your competitor, if you onboard them and get them productive faster, if you performance manage them well, and if you get them to really believe in what they are doing and apply discretionary effort to it, you are in a better position than your competitor. And as this gets more competitive, what we are saying is instill now the infrastructure to be competitive with that. People are employing and starting the dialogue with these top performers earlier and earlier. Some people are doing it as anonymous applications, so there is no confidentiality issues. Okay? And this one, 200%, I've seen that, that's a SHRM stat, but I've seen that even higher. The total costs of replacement of an individual, if this goes wrong, if your recruitment is incorrect, if somebody leaves before they start contributing to the business and being productive, that can be, yeah, I've seen between 200 and 300% of that employee's salary. So this costs a lot of money to make a mistake. Okay, so the Kenexa business. This is the go-to-market proposition for Smarter Workforce, and really is based on three elements of this wheel. So attraction, we're moving from recruitment to attraction. It's no longer good enough to respond to the peaks and troughs of demand and think, oh, yeah, we need a pipeline of talent for these projects. We need to be starting that dialogue early. We need to know and understand where these people reside. We need to start flattening the line of recruitment. Okay, and we'll talk about what goes into that attraction package today. The empowerment piece is very, very close to the social business messaging. It's really around harnessing the collective capability of your workforce and making sure that everybody has the skills and the knowledge and the network to be as competitive as they can be. And motivation, you can't really do any of this and you're unlikely to be able to deliver on these projects, which are hard, right? And require a lot of effort, often beyond 5 o'clock. So the amount of discretionary effort that people are willing to apply over and above their core hours, really, if you multiply that across a workforce, that's enormous. You think about the people that work in, I manage a small group of people, but you know, if you think about tens of people and moving the needle a little bit on motivation, and you think about hundreds, and then you think about thousands, and you think about hundreds of thousands. This has a visible impact on the bottom line. So really it's about two things. How do we select more people who are like your current top performers? Because we believe that the data exists on what makes those people good in that job. And then how do you maximize the performance of those individuals when they're there? Or another way of stating this that I think is relevant for the people that work with collaboration solutions and the social business toolkit is, if that's about empowering your workforce, we deal with the raw materials, the people element of it. Getting great people into the company, maximizing their performance and productivity once they're there. Any questions so far? Have I confused you? It does become clearer as we go through, I promise. So we'll go through the individual solution components pieces that form parts of these areas. So employment branding, understanding the fit of your culture. So Kenexa has about 100 organizational psychologists in-house. They work with the concept of talent and behavior and motivation and really understanding organizational psychology. So we put a lot more science behind what is your external employee value proposition. How do you start to attract more people who are really going to thrive within your environment? And we do that through a number of different workshops and measures and diagnostics. And I'm really trying to get into the archetype and the soul of the business. It was an English company called McCann Erickson was an advertising business that talked about the truth well told. Okay, and that's what we're trying to do within the employment brand proposition. Make sure that the experience that you deliver to candidates, to people who are searching or interested in having a dialogue with you about your role, is relevant to them, it's relevant to their specialism, it's reflective of your brand, it's positive no matter whether you hire them or reject them, and that they can get more data and get connected to the people that will give them relevant information. A well-informed candidate is the candidate that you want. So Disney is an example. We support all recruitment activity for Disney globally. We worked with Disney to build something that was reflective of the brand, told a story around what it's like to work at Disney, because that's the business that they're in. Had this, concept of Disney magic within the front end. Explored a lot of the stories of individuals for whom the Disney organization has been transformational. Provided a social network for people to be able to speak to people in Disney about their experiences and what's great about it. And there was a couple of drivers for this that you'll notice in comparison to most application sites that are, let's face it, moderately dull, right? If anyone's applied for a new role online and has hit the drop-down button for location and function and whatever it is, and then there was zero results found, and then you think, oh, sorry, I'm going to go and watch TV. Right? Disney wanted to do the opposite. Okay, it's got to be engaging for them because they concentrate so much on their brand from a consumer perspective, and whether you get employed or not, it has to treat you with respect. Okay, so it's a positive overall experience. The next element then to the attraction piece is recruitment technology, and this is a core piece of what Kenexa does. So we're a software as a service business. Everything exists in the cloud. No need for infrastructure and high spend on databases. We've got it all. It's ready. We have 650 businesses, mostly large brand names that you would recognize. I just bumped into two of my colleagues at Schiphol Airport who are on their way to Shell, where we're rolling this technology out for Shell globally. Okay, so it's a SaaS-based offering. It's a single code base. There's no legacy code anywhere. And it's a hub to process all applications and contracts and everything that you do within a recruitment role, either as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, in a simple-to-use framework. The value of a recruitment technology used to be your back-end database. I'd say it's not anymore. I'd say it's how competitive a brand can you power in the digital market. Back to Disney. This is a trend within the industry to open up the content of the facility through APIs to another interface. And we'll get to that a little bit later because that's one of the key elements and touch points in between the existing social toolkit of Portal and what it is that Kenexa will offer as middleware going forward. Browstring is safe. It's really flexible. However many processes you have, however many experiences you want to offer your candidates, however many security groups you want to establish, however many forms you've got from a recruitment process, we can do that within configuration and no customization needed. The real value, though, is that whereas most people are going with a message around how to hire better, faster, and cheaper, this is where Kenexa's interplay between technology and content comes in, and we will leverage our own tests so that we're getting a higher quality of candidate through the door. Okay, so lots of languages, lots of deployments, lots of customers, and the beauty of SaaS is that all of the work that we've done over 15 years on this product is brought to new customers on day one. Okay, so it's a flexible offering, and you choose where you wish to store your data. This is the native application. So as you'd expect from an IBM product, there's a concentration on workflow and experience and analytics. And this will tell you exactly who you're hiring and where they come from and what experience they've had, and will manage any kind of interaction that if you want to go back to your hiring managers and say, how was it? Back to the candidate to say, how was it? This is the hub that will allow you to do it. And this is the application that we will put first within the roadmap, within the portal infrastructure.
Why?
I think it's so when portal's delivering, if the message is around exceptional customer experience and exceptional web experience, this is a way for us to turn that outward facing to the candidate and offer businesses, world-leading capability from a recruitment software perspective, but within an environment and an experience that the customer already has. Yeah? And I think, as I say, when I compare that to the sort of recruitment sites and experiences that are out there at the moment, it will be significantly advanced.
Okay.
Yeah. If you think that this user interface is a little bit dull, I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily. But this is exactly the same system, just with a different API opened up for a retail customer. So a lot of our businesses, and in the retail space, we deal with IKEA globally and WH Smiths and Boots, and actually Ahold here out of Netherlands is a client that's implementing in the US first. But a lot of those businesses have store operations where recruitment is really it's a non-key task. It distracts them from what they should be doing, dealing with the customer. And they asked us, can we lock this down? Can we make it really, really simple? And can we have it, optimized for a mobile device? So it's exactly the same proposition, just with a different user interface. And again, that's what we'll do with Portal. So assessments is really around diagnostics of capability. So Kenexa is a big assessment house. We assess about 35 million candidates a year, looking at really the profile of that individual, usually either from a skills perspective or cognitive, so kind of how smart are you, or from a behavioral profiling perspective to see whether there is a fit with the job type that we're looking for. So we have a assessment engine that sits within the technology, from which we can deploy as part of that recruitment process a relevant test for the job that the candidate is going to do. And if you're thinking about improved candidate quality versus just process efficiencies, there's a significantly better ROI around slightly improved candidate quality versus the overall efficiencies of what you're doing within the program. But we're presenting hiring managers with data around the individual. We're never taking away the face-to-face interview, right? That will always be necessary, I think. But you can get more information on somebody's capability so that your time is optimized. You can ask more relevant questions about the role. And hopefully, once you amass all of this data, you can make a better, lower risk decision around that person's likelihood to succeed in the job. We do that as there are off-the-shelf tests that come either online or paper, but we design custom tests for people as well. And there's a prevalence in the industry at the moment for this type of gaming environment. Again, back to the demographics. So lots of people who've grown up kind of shooting zombies on. They like this environment, right? And I think for some businesses, it's a good reflection of the brand. It's often used for a situational judgment proposition. So if you're going to, again, giving the hiring manager data on that person's likelihood to succeed, put them in a live situation. That technology exists now. You can make it virtual. You can walk around a lot of these and check out what's going on, and then it will present you with a series of different options, and you click the one that you think is most relevant for you. So it's a growing trend within the industry, I think, more for situational judgment and branding than specific scientific selection at the moment, but there is no reason why you can't use this in that way. And this is growing significantly within training as well. Okay. Recruitment process outsourcing also fits within the attraction bundle. So for some businesses, if you wish to lock, stock and barrel outsource the process of recruitment, that's something that Kenexa has done a lot of historically. So for businesses like Ford and Eli Lilly and Baker Hughes and Microsoft, interestingly, in Germany. We've been the recruitment function of that organization. Okay, so presenting the hiring manager with just 3 CVs, hopefully all of them could do the job, otherwise there is no involvement from the customer at all. Okay, and we bring really everything that we do around culture fit, assessments, the technology that supports the activity, and the physical people that will manage that as an overall offering. So compensation. Has anyone ever come across the guy or the girl that is the reward manager for a company? Usually they sit like locked deep in the bowels of the organization, and they have a pretty hard time because they have to compute all of this external data around market salary information, usually on a spreadsheet, and then the HR director will come and say, I'm thinking of giving our top performers a 3% pay rise. I want to make sure that it's competitive externally. Can you model that out for me? Let me know what it looks like. You crunch all of the data, and it's a pretty hideous task. We provide software to make that easier. So we will aggregate all of that external pay rate data. We'll run it through an algorithm, and we'll provide the tools for people to actually model that out and see what it looks like. Okay, so it's important, I think, if you are within your really critical job families, if you are growing, that you know and understand that the rate that you're advertising at is going to attract these people. We can talk a lot about brand and value proposition, but the money is important too. It's not the be-all and end-all statistically, but it's important. Onboarding. Onboarding sits kind of halfway between, right at the end of attract and partway into empowerment. Again, can I ask, has anyone sort of digitized and automated their onboarding process within the companies that you guys work for? Okay, so it's pretty new. It's a logical extension of the applicant tracking market, so you get to a stage where you offer the candidate, and then all of the stuff that we, as we've grown up with, have all done within the first couple of weeks within a business, signing forms, reading the handbook, going through with HR what the policies are, understanding where the canteen is, meeting people. All of that element can be automated and digitized, and you can start before you join the business. So the objective here is one, kind of efficiencies of process, but really it's to get up to speed quicker, get productive faster, and also to expose the soul of the organization a little bit. There's a huge correlation in between a new hire's experience in the first 3 months and their likelihood to be engaged and stay for a long period of time. If you make that really difficult, that first 3 months, it's hard to kind of catch up afterwards. So I know that we've not been fantastic at this historically within our kind of exponential growth years, but there are businesses where if you turn up on day one and there isn't yet a computer for you and you don't know who your boss is and you're really not kind of sure what to do, we're trying to avoid that situation and make sure that it's clear. There's a huge relationship here again with the connections capability, so we can start to introduce people to their immediate sphere of influence. Right? There's probably about 10 people that are absolutely critical to a new starter's role and success. So let's get them introduced before they even join. Let's maybe, obviously all of this is mobile enabled so that you can do it at any, at any time and at your own convenience. But we want to be able to make sure that all of the pieces around meeting and understanding what that role is about, how they become successful, the access to the data that they need, and getting them up to productivity is as easy as possible for the individual. So any device, any time, and all of the compliance elements are obviously recorded so they're reportable. Learning. Kenexa's also got a learning stack of technologies. As well as an LMS, we have something called a learning content management system. So if you're a business with lots of volatile content, you might author that externally, but that is costly. There's probably, again, a lot of collective know-how and content that exists across the staff base, maybe on people's hard drives or in PDF format or on CD-ROM or whatever it might be. We have a capability to ingest all of that content and to tag it and to be able to reuse it in any format. So Babcock, for example, they do all sorts of kind of assembly line production training. And there's a lot of manuals, and they're very, very specific, and specific, engineers and mechanics have to be certified in one type of widget or another. So that content is constantly changing. We will ingest that into a kind of a 3D database and give the customer the ability to reuse that in any format. Increasingly, learning is getting more and more social. So it usually happens, lots of it on the job. It's really helpful if you can access your learning from any particular device again, and really useful if you can set up informal networks of collaboration. So everything here is, you have the ability to set up WebExes and chat rooms, and again, it will index the people that have the same interests and specialism as you, and you can connect with them and network over time. The front-end LMS, this is what it looks like now. But again, the idea is that the Kenexa applications become middleware and that the experience is delivered through Portal. So we will start to see some changes, I think, in the interface. And the learning management market is that there are lots of these around. So they do pretty much 95% the same thing. In fact, most of the businesses I've met have thousands of LMSs. Our proposition, as I say, is different around making sure that we can understand the content that's important to the individuals, that we can access and harness the collective know-how of the organization, and that the learning front end that is presented is social. One of the easiest ways to deliver content to a mobile device is a Kenexa patented technology called Hot Lava, which is built on a platform of PowerPoint. So I use this all the time to send out kind of quick updates and do quizzes to make sure that the learning that the team have had has been digested. So you use PowerPoint as normal, it's just a plug-in, but the system will allow you to embed video content or radio buttons or whatever you might need to conduct a kind of a conversation, and it will know and understand the native device of the recipient. So it will kind of badge the content and make it appropriate for the device that people are receiving. And all of the respondents' interactions are reportable. So if you stick people through a training course, you might just want to ask them, maybe 10 questions, but do it in a really handy format on a mobile device that they can do, I don't know, sat on a train. Okay, leadership development. We have what we call a content business. So the legacy Kenexa business is kind of split between content, technology, and services. Services focuses on an outsourced service that you might wish us to take care of, largely recruitment process outsourcing historically. Content is the diagnostic, so all of the qualitative interventions around a person's capability or their engagement, or also leadership development. So we bought a business called the Centre for High Performance Development a couple of years ago, and they've got 30 years of research into what makes leaders successful. So we look a lot at the character and the attributes of successful leaders, a lot of whom, within lots of markets, and I'll take engineering as an example, you have somebody who's technically hugely proficient, being promoted into a leadership role, which is less about technical capability and more about behavior, who hasn't necessarily had the opportunity to learn about what it is that you need to do to communicate effectively, to engage people, and to manage performance through a multitude of people. So we work with lots of our businesses on leadership development. Really, the last one is about motivation, which is the concept of employee engagement is how much you believe and are prepared to apply discretionary effort to achieve the objectives of your organization. And everybody's probably got, I know every time I walk into a store and somebody's sat there and they're kind of, either on their phone or they're chewing gum or, and you just think you're completely disinterested in the role that you're doing. I've experienced that as a consumer and I've left. And if you multiply that across again, thousands of people that might work for that retailer, that becomes really, really significant. So how do you understand what it is that motivates people to give discretionary effort to what they're doing? And that's really a conversation in between leadership and the staff base, facilitated by Kenexa through employee surveys, as an example. So we transact lots and lots of these surveys where we're writing the question set that goes out to the individuals, and then we're processing the responses, and then we're back in front of the leadership team saying, we believe that based on your change agenda and based on what we're hearing from the people that work within your organization, if you do these 3 things, this will move the needle on engagement. And often it's around communication, so people understanding how their role fits within the organization and why it's important. And often it's about, leadership behavior, again, which is also something that we touch on. So large-scale programs, we're doing this for Allianz and for Unilever and for, Starwood Hotel, so big, up to 500,000 employees, and every single one of them will be engaged in this conversation. And then we're into the behavior change kind of an action planning process, which we support with our tools as well. Performance management and succession is a hot topic with everybody at the moment. So you'll hear lots of talk about kind of talent management and our high performers, and have we got enough leaders, and what are we doing around succession. So this is another product that we provide. Again, the objective and the longer term view is that this application will sit within the portal infrastructure. But we are providing, again, data to leaders on how people are performing, what their skills were when they joined the business, which ones they've acquired, what the skills gap is in between where they are today and where we think they might be going in the future, and providing as much data visibility to that as we can. Again, this is quite a competitive market. There are lots of SaaS-based talent management providers out there. Again, the differentiator for us is the content that we have. So we have a big library of competencies that we can install for a customer in a specific vertical. So if you don't have a competency framework to work with, which should be the place to start around a project like this, we can provide it and come with that sort of pre-baked. There we go. So how will Kenexa and IBM solutions work together? And I've mentioned this quite a lot, so this I don't think will be a surprise at this stage. There is a platform for social business, which we think is excellent. I know that some of you are users of Connections, and that will be the framework in which we will put connectivity around the Kenexa applications. So from a recruitment, onboarding, performance and learning perspective, it will be Connections that we will use as the tool to provide a greater degree of connectivity. The behavioral sciences bit is the differentiator. So we compete against, the ERPs and lots of big, well-known niche providers, but really nobody has this combination of an understanding of what high performance is instilled within their technology solution. So whereas most people are talking about, either core HR or your record of talent or process efficiencies, we really like to talk about, the business objectives, the change programs, the job families that have an impact on the customer's key metrics, and what we can do to try and look for, onboard and performance manage more high performers. And that is really the transformational bit of what Smarter Workforce is about. So 3 key areas that we're going to look at as a priority. Workforce experience, so using Portal to deliver exceptional web experience, but from an application perspective. Social learning, connections within the learning stack, and workforce analytics, so real in-depth understanding from data pulled right the way across the suite and from the social platform around what is it that your high performers do, think and experience that makes them exceptional at their job, and then how do we replicate that? So this is what it might look like, and these are mock-ups. Right? So this was shown at Connect as well. So this is Kenexa capability within the career paths and culture quiz area, but is an envisaged kind of front-end experience for a candidate. So we'll walk through it. You land on the career site and you find your way to Greenwell Sports. It's immediately visibly different to a lot of the e-recruitment systems that are out there. We're utilising social media to say, if you can give us greater advocacy around these roles, if you think they're not right for you, but somebody in your network is, then that's particularly relevant. There are a lot of businesses now that we are engaging with that even will start to search your individual network as an employee. So still the number one source of quality candidates is referrals, right? And everybody has their immediate network, usually listed within their either corporate or external social network. So there's a whole bunch of tools that have sprung up to say, we've got this job, we've turned the search engine round externally on. It looks as though these 3 people in your network would be ideal for this position. Are you prepared to put them forward? Right? And it will then manage the kind of incentive program around that and track the payment. So we go further into the recruitment process again. So it's the Kenexa science and diagnostics, but run through portal as the experience. Go a step further and we're looking at here at the internal applications. So again, how do we facilitate connectivity for potential internal applicants with the people that are successful in the role already? Can they get a bit of insight and understanding around what the job is and what they need to do? Social onboarding, so as I mentioned before, making sure that we can connect people even before they start. If we can get them to do a lot of this networking piece, so that the conversation that they have when they actually turn up on day one with their line manager is that much better informed, then that's positive. And we could even potentially facilitate, kind of live chat if it was appropriate. It's a customer side setting, but facilitate live chat again so that you can do all of the conversation about the weather and how many kids have you got and all of those great things. But then when you actually meet, you can get down to business. Yeah? So this is all happening before you've even joined the company, and most of the people that we are recruiting probably have a month off, sometimes 3 months off. Imagine if you gave them the tools to get a lot of the work done that they would usually do on day one in their first 3 months before they even join. And really this is this is the real insight that we're looking to deliver to customers around workforce productivity. So if you take all of the data that will exist in this big machine of Smarter Workforce, and say these are separate applications today, but they'll be pulled together through the portal infrastructure. And so we'll know and understand where our high performers came from, what their onboarding experience